Bernie Sanders is increasingly in trouble, mostly with folks who describe themselves as supporters of Bernie just a few weeks or a couple of months ago. And part of this was Bernie Sanders endorsing Joe Biden. That enraged some people on the left. And Bernie Sanders now said in a new interview in very definitive terms, basically exactly what I said on Monday about this entire abolish the police, defund the police thing, which was he's not for defunding the police, that some departments need more money, but that many changes and reforms have to be made. And this was a very wide-ranging interview with the New Yorker. I encourage you to check out the entire thing. But listen, call me a neoliberal right-wing nut, but I agree with Bernie Sanders, which increasingly has people furious with me as well, which is just a strange turn of events. Let's look at what Bernie said. Bernie, when asked about these defund the police movements, said, quote, "Do I think we should not have police departments in America? No, I don't. There's no city in the world that does not have police departments." Okay, so this is just a hard no on actually getting rid of police departments. Fair enough. So, some people are angry with this, but some folks believe this part is reasonable. Bernie goes on. What you need are, I didn't call for more money for police departments. I called for police departments that have well-educated, well-trained, well-paid professionals. And too often around the country right now, you have police officers who take the job at very low payment, don't have much education, don't have much training, and I want to change that. So again, Bernie pointing out, sometimes police are underpaid. Sometimes police are undertrained. Sometimes a department doesn't have enough officers to actually do community policing rather than what I call cheap policing. So that's me editorializing. I'm now adding on to what Bernie Sanders said. Bernie goes on, quote, "I also called for the transformation of police departments into understanding that many police departments and cops deal every day with issues of mental illness, deal with issues of addiction and all kinds of issues which should be dealt with by mental health professionals or others, and not just by police officers." So again, Bernie's spot on. Exactly as I said on Monday, I added mental health training for officers themselves to better de-escalate, adding to police departments more mental health workers straight up who can request support from police if necessary. Bernie goes on to say, quote, "I think we want to redefine what police departments do, give them the support they need to make their jobs better defined. So I do believe that we need well-trained, well-educated, and well-paid professionals in police departments. Anyone who thinks that we should abolish all police departments in America, I don't agree." So this is very straightforward. I like that Bernie is also pointing out that a lot of times when we look at funding, we would mostly, I believe, all agree that funding for military-like elements for police, including certain weapons and riot gear, armed vehicles, et cetera, that is funding that should be cut. But cutting salaries, particularly when in many parts of the country, police are dramatically underpaid, including being so underpaid relative to the cost of living that they have to live far from the area they are policing, which is not good for the community. I made this point earlier this week. Sometimes you actually may need to increase the amount that is going to salaries, as an example, while decreasing the amount that is going to militarization and equipment. So there have been two primary reactions to Bernie Sanders saying this. One reaction is people are furious with Bernie Sanders once again. Bernie sold out again, just like he sold out by endorsing Joe Biden. And to them, I say, what really happened here? Like, in other words, did you so misjudge Bernie all of these years? You believed he was the most honest politician, the most genuine politician, the best guy that we needed. And then now in 6 weeks, Bernie says, I'm endorsing Biden and we should vote for him, and defund the police is not something that you need to have police. And now you realize that all along for the last year, 2 years, 5 years, however long you've supported Bernie, your assessment of him was just wrong. What does that say about your judgment if that is your reaction? Now, the other response has been, well, abolish the police, defund the police. It's not literal. It's a metaphor for reform. But that is where a lot of the problem is coming from. These conversations of we've got to defund the police and abolish, dismantle police departments. Well, no, you do need police, though. Like, who are you going to call in the middle of the night if someone burgles your house? Well, no. Oh, no. I mean, I don't actually mean defund or abolish the police. What I mean is the stuff David Pakman said on Monday. Well, then maybe we agree, but the movement needs to do better branding. because there are some people who do want to abolish the police, but either way, the right is seizing on it and we're getting crushed. Right-wing media has spent all week just arguing about the left wants to defund and abolish the police, when even a lot of the people saying it don't actually want to do that. So it does, to me, seem like Bernie's position might just be too status quo and not radical enough for some of Bernie's most ardent followers. That actually may be the case, even without strawmanning or mischaracterizing Bernie's position, or without making a personal attack on Bernie. It's possible that Bernie's position on this issue is just not radical enough for some of the people that supported Bernie in 2016 and in 2020. Now, I saw one other perspective when researching this. I saw some Bernie supporters who said, we don't really believe Bernie means this. So understand what the argument is. There are some Bernie supporters who believe that deep down, Bernie does want to abolish the police. But in this interview, he's pretending that he doesn't in order to mainstream Joe Biden's view, which is the same. And that it's sort of like a tactic. In other words, Bernie wants to defund the police, but as a posturing move to help Biden, Bernie's lying and pretending that he doesn't want to defund the police. If you believe that, then you believe that Bernie Sanders is incredibly dishonest, and I don't know how you could otherwise support him. Like, if you believe Bernie is actually just straight up lying in this way, then you should question why you're even still defending Bernie in any way. I don't know. If I'm honest with you guys, and I would never be anything less than honest with you, I'm actually concerned about how quickly some Bernie supporters abandoned Bernie after he endorsed Biden and said a few pragmatic things. And a lot of Bernie supporters abandoned Bernie very quickly, attributed the most bad faith interpretations to everything that Bernie has said and done since suspending his campaign and endorsing Joe Biden. Like, this was the guy for you, and you abandon him this quickly and say he's either disingenuous or a shill for Biden or whatever. To me, that makes me question whether you were really that strong of a Bernie supporter from the get-go, or you were only supportive of him as far as he was saying the things you wanted to hear. And it wasn't really Bernie you supported. It was Bernie as long as he says what you want to hear. And then as soon as he doesn't, Bernie's no longer, the genuine thinker that many said that he was. I don't know, but it is definitely concerning what we're seeing.